What a game it is set to be between Australia and England in the semi-finals of the Women's World Cup. Look at the odds as well going into this game to advance. England are favourites, and there have been such great battles between these two nations in cricket, in rugby, and now we get to see it in football. Ahead of it, Ella Toone has said that she hopes the English can reign on the Aussie parade.
Some of them are actually rooting for us. When you walk past them in the street, they say good luck and that. But yeah, we want to rain on their parade, and we want to compete against anyone that we come up against. And now it's the host nation, so yeah, it's going to be really exciting.
Alexis, you were taking part in all of those interviews in the mix zone with the English and the Lionesses. What else stood out to you from what you spoke to them about?
Well, of course, some of them, like Ella, are already thinking of that semi-final against Australia, because Australia has been the Lionesses' base for this entire time, and it's a really easy country to fall in love with. You know, they've been near the Gold Coast, they've been by the beach, they've been hanging out with the locals, so the locals really have embraced them, you know, for all of the England versus Australia rivalries in sports that we know are very heated and not a lot of love lost between them. But this is going to be a special one. But what impressed me the most, too, about the Lionesses, I mean, we keep talking about how they do need to probably be more dominant in the way they play, especially in scoring goals. But we got to speak to Bethany England, and she said she's felt the key for this England team has been their defence. She says it's been quite rock solid, you know, and having someone like Mary Earps there too. And Sebi pointed out the way that they've been able to kind of switch their back line, whether it's 4 at the back or the 3, and it's still been able to work for the most part. But then I thought Millie Bright, the captain, said it best. She said, we just have a mentality that's just different. That is something that we talk about every day. That's something that Serena Vigman talks to him about every day, that you have to have that strong mentality, because they seemed rattled a bit when they went up against Nigeria. Said that Nigeria almost gave Colombia the perfect blueprint of how to maybe beat England, because Colombia play a similar way. They, you know, can get really physical. They do cause a lot of fouls. They do disrupt England's flow. But today, England were really patient in it. They let Colombia play their game, but this time they didn't seem as rattled as they did against Nigeria, where we saw some of the frustration boil over with Lauren James getting her red card. And I think when England were ready to turn it on, they did it and they took their chances. So something to be said about that English mentality. We talked about it when it comes to the US women's national team and how strong they have been through the experiences of winning on the big international stage. And now I think England have that.
What's impressed you about Australia, Sebi?
I mean, you know, Alexis talks about Nigeria giving England trouble. They beat Australia in the group phase. And even if you go back to Australia's group opener against Ireland, it takes a Steph Catley penalty. That's the only goal in that game. Australia got off to a really, really slow start in this tournament. And I think you have to look at the other players who have stepped up in the absence of Sam Kerr. We've not gotten a lot of Sam Kerr. We got 10 minutes of her against Denmark. She came on in the 55th minute of this game, but really didn't have a monstrous impact. There's certainly an emotional lift, but I don't think that she's had the impact that anybody thought she would have. So I think you have to look at the kind of team, and especially the back line. Catley on one side has been great. Ellie Carpenter on the other side has been great. Alana Kennedy and Hunt there monitoring the center back position. They've been really solid. And Mackenzie Arnold today. I mean, she made 4 saves. I know only 3 of them counted because one was a double on Dali, but 4 saves in the penalty shootout. You got a hot goalie like that, and I think you can do anything in this tournament. It's funny because at the beginning of this tournament, I had the U.S. and Australia in my final. Then after the group phase, we redid our brackets, and I totally lost faith in Australia. Clearly, I was wrong. That home field advantage is paying dividends for them. And after a shaky start, they've certainly turned it around.
Okay, so let's talk then about the predictions for this semi-final, Mark, between Australia and England. Who are you going for?
I'm going for England purely on the basis that they've got that ability. They know they can win it. They know they can win a major tournament. They know they have what it takes. They are missing their best player in Lauren James and other players that didn't make it to the tournament because of injury. So England have got their weaknesses, and I think Australia have the better individual players in Sam Kerr and Mary Fowler. But I think the team, England, is stronger, and I think they'll relish the opportunity to go to Sydney on Wednesday and play against Australia in their backyard. So I think England will win. I think that it'll be a tough watch. I don't think it's going to be an exciting game, but I think they'll drag it out, and I think England will win and get to the final.
What about you, Jules?
Yeah, I think England as well. There's a point where they're going to play better for sure. And although Sam Kerr is a game changer, I think even when she came on today and she was not she was not very good, but you could tell that the French and Wendy Renard was so like, let's not let her turn. For example, let's not give her any space. But still, she was able to her control. I mean, everything that she does is so good anyway. So she's a game changer. I expect her to start, of course, against England. I still think England have just a little too much, unless again. And I think the semis are Stadium Australia, so it's going to be even better than it was here tonight in Brisbane. So maybe the crowd can make another difference. And they're going to be physical. And I think this is the challenge for England to be ready for, is that they play with a lot of intensity. They're very physical. They run a lot. They fight a lot. They clearly have that mindset and that mentality. But I still think England are just going to edge it.
England have only lost once under Serena Wiegmann, and it was against Australia in a friendly. What do you say, Alexis?
Yeah, Kay, and I was actually at that friendly at Brentford, and I was absolutely blown away as to how Australia handled England. But I think this is going to be a little bit different. My heart says Australia just because we will love a fairy tale story, and to see them make a final in front of their home crowd would just be unbelievable. But my head is definitely going to say England, because we talk about Australia's biggest strength right now, and we're hoping that it's going to be Sam Kerr coming back and probably getting her best performance in this final, and she absolutely could. But even with Sam Kerr at 100%, majority of this England team knows exactly how they can deal with her or try to neutralize her. And I think that mentality of England as well, the way how they will battle it out and have learned to grind out wins even when they come under pressure, and even when things up front aren't clicking in the pretty manner that they want them to. I still think England have enough to get past this one and make it to the final, and hopefully make my bracket look, or my predictions look solid.
Oh, don't worry, we're going to be getting to those brackets just a little bit later. And just a quick mention, we do know that there's no Lauren James in this game either.
Yeah, and for me, that's a big differentiator here. I think England gets through against Colombia primarily because of Colombia's mistakes. I don't see this Australia team, at least in the last couple games, making those mistakes. So I'm going to give Australia at home the edge. And I also wonder, and maybe I'm being a little prisoner of the moment, but on the Colombia goal today, I thought Mary Earps didn't look her best. And I just wonder if that could be an issue in this game on the Lacey Santos goal. Full credit, chip, whatever. But I think a goalkeeper of that caliber should make that stop, should make that play, should be in a better position. And I just wonder if it comes down to the goalies. And we just mentioned Mackenzie Arnold, coming off the incredible performance in the penalty shootout. I'll go with Australia.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.